Hello, welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. What I'm going to discuss today is a football team that existed in the NFL in the 1920 season, the first season the NFL made its debut, called the Muncie Flyers. This team went 0-1, didn't play another game. I was looking from 1920, 1930. There were a few teams that had seasons like that. They only played one or two games, maybe 5 games, and were done. And I wanted to get some more information on the Muncie Flyers. And back in the day when semi-pro football got started, teams were located mostly in the Midwest and some Pennsylvania teams, and some states had blue laws where teams couldn't play on Sundays, and some players were being borrowed between different teams. They played on Saturday and a Sunday, and the NFL was formed mainly for the purpose of stability. They didn't want players jumping from team to team. They wanted players under contract, so they were with one team. So I'm going to read off of Wikipedia what I was able to get about the Muncie Flyers. They were from Muncie, Indiana, and played in the National Football League, then called the American Professional Football Association. The origins of the team show that it evolved from the Congerville Muncie Athletic Club, which dates back to at least 1905. Local newspapers provided spotty coverage of the team, and occasional reference was made to a game being scheduled, and sometimes the game results with a brief game account was in the Monday paper. In 1910, the Congerville Athletic Club finished with a 10-0-1 record, outscoring their opponents 145-0. All the home games were played against other Muncie teams, while the road games were played in Hartford City, Dunkirk, and Alexandria. 1916, the team Congerville Athletic Club and the Congerville Flyers were merged, and Muncie was represented by the Congerville Flyers. The Congerville Muncie Flyers evolved from a team called the Congerville Thirds. This team was later renamed the Congerville Flyers. The 1915 edition of the Flyers proved to be a respectable team, finishing with a 5-3-3 record. Their star player was a local player, Cooney Checkeye. Playing all its games on the road, the 1916 team had a disappointing year, finishing with a 2-6-1 record. Also representing Congerville in 1915-16 was the Congerville Eagles. This lightweight team was closely associated with the Flyers, sometimes lending the heavyweight team a player or two when they were short due to injury. The Congerville Flyers played briefly in 1917, but did not field a team in 1918 due to the United States' involvement in World War I and the influenza epidemic. In September 1917, Earl Ball announced that he had organized a team. Scheduled to be on his team were famous college players Dick Arbell of Purdue and Al Feeney of Notre Dame. Also scheduled to play was Christian Chambers, formerly of the Fort Wayne Friars. The team was to be led by a local hero, Cooney Checkeye. Ball invited 10 more players to come practice the next morning. However, a week later, on September 9th, 1917, Ball announced that he had released all the players that he had signed and would not be fielding a team due to the war. Local press was convinced that Muncie had fielded his team, and it would have no doubt been strong contenders for the state. If he had fielded a team, they would no doubt have been strong contenders for the state championship. They did not field a team that year. The NFL era. With the war ended, football came back to life in eastern Indiana. The Flyers played some strong teams, including the Wabash Athletic Association, Fort Wayne War Vets, and Cincinnati Celts. The 1919 team finished with a 4-1-1 record. In 1920, the Flyers were one of the original 14 teams in the American Professional Football Association, which later became the National Football League. In the second ever NFL game, the Rock Island Independents destroyed the Muncie Flyers 45-0. Next week, the Decatur Staleys canceled the game with them because Muncie found it difficult to schedule another game after that. One of the reasons Decatur Staleys canceled the game was that George Halas, of the Bears, player of the Bears, I don't know if he was playing for them then or not, but he didn't feel like it would even be a fair contest, and didn't even want to attempt to take on that opponent. While the team was idle, most of the players signed on to play with other local teams. The Flyers did have a game scheduled against the Dayton Triangles on November 7th, 1920, but the game was rained out. The Flyers came back in late November and early December and won 3 non-AFPA games, finishing with a 3-1 overall record. Coming back to the APFA in 1921, the Flyers opened the season by crushing the non-AFPA Elwood Legion then lost league games against the Evansville Crimson Giants and a loss at home against the Cincinnati Celts, scheduled to play again on November 13, 1921 against the Green Bay Packers. That game was canceled, leaving the Flyers with a 1-2-0 overall record, 0-2 APFA record. The Flyers' mark in APFA football was an unimpressive 0-3, but during the 1920 and 1921, the Flyers posted 4 0-0 mark against non-APFA teams, including 1919. The Flyers posted 8-1 record against the non-APFA teams. Post-NFL, after leaving the APFA, the Muncie Flyers reverted to their original name of the Congerville Flyers due to weak fan support. The Flyers played almost all their games on the road. In 1922, 1923, and 24, the Flyers did not play one home game in 1924. That was against the Notre Dame Reserves. They did play one game in 1924. It was against the Notre Dame Reserves of Brownston Hall. The Flyers lost 47-0. Some speculate that the team they played was not really reserves from Notre Dame, but the strong South Bend Arrows. During the 3 years, the road-bound Flyers finished with a respectable 10-8-3 record. In 1925, the Flyers could not find a home field in Muncie, so they based their team out of neighboring Jonesboro. The team was referred to as the Jonesboro Flyers in 1925, played 9 of 11 games in Jonesboro and finished with a 6-2-3 record. So basically, this team existed from 1910 to 1926, the 1 year that they were in the NFL. 1920, 1921, they were coached by Ken Huffine, and 1920 and 1921, Cooney Checkeye. And that's basically what I was able to find about the Muncie Flyers. Found it kind of interesting that the team only played one game, but that was just in the NFL. They played other semi-pro games. But anyway, just wanted to get this information out. And as always, thanks for watching.